Everybody, welcome to another Affinity photo tutorial. This week I've got another composite tutorial for you. These are all of the pictures that we're going to use in this week's composite. So let's turn off all the ones that we're not going to need for now. Just concentrate on this back one here, and let's just concentrate on our background for now. I'm going to add an exposure, clip that to the background, and then just darken that up a little bit for now, and we'll come back and tweak that a little bit later. The next picture that we're going to add is these light rays here. So let's turn the light rays on, make the picture a bit smaller with our command minus, and I'm going to turn this one around like it's coming out of the windows up here and make it quite big. We're going to change the blend mode to screen, and I'm going to add a recolor to it. So down on my adjustments, I'm going to add a recolor and clip that to the light rays, then bring that into this sort of orangey color. About there, looks pretty good. Now, to get rid of these harsh lines that we can see here, what I'm going to do is come over here to my erase tool. The flow is 25%. Fairly big brush, and I'm just going to erase those harsh lines. So that looks a little bit better. I'm going to bring in my model now, and this is the picture of the model that I'm going to use. This is another one of those pictures from the Big Bad Figure Pack from NeoStock, which is free, so you can head over there and grab it if you want to get some nice asset models or characters to use in your composites. So what I'm going to do with my model here, I'm going to add 2 exposures. So the first one, clip that to my model and then just darken my model down a little bit. I'm going to add another exposure, clip that to my model, and I'm going to make that one quite bright. About there is pretty good. And then on that exposure, I'm going to invert it with my Command I or Control I if you're on Windows, and I'm going to call that highlights. And we will come back to that a little bit later. My next picture that I'm going to add is a picture of the goggles here. Come over here to my Move tool. We'll make them a little bit smaller. Just going to add them to the top here. So let's zoom in with our Command plus and make those a lot smaller. I'm just going to put them on top here like she's resting them on top of her forehead here. What I'm going to do is add a mask, grab my brush. Brush is going to be a soft brush, and we're going to be painting in black. Make sure we got black here. Brush a little bit smaller. Let's zoom in. So let's get rid of these harsh bits here. And I'm just going to paint in like some of her hairs falling over the side of that goggle there, and maybe a little bit on this side here. Okay, Command 0, that looks pretty good. What we'll do on these goggles also, let's add a new pixel layer and let's clip that to the goggles. We'll come up here to our blend mode and change that to soft light. Going to pick an orange color, this orange color here. Maybe drop my flow to 20. Zoom in again. And on the goggles here, just going to add a little color around the edges there. Okay, Command 0, that looks pretty good, so I'm happy with that. Okay, I'm going to bring over the picture of this stone now. Let's come up to our Move tool and make that a bit smaller. And let's just want to fit it into her hand here. So that looks pretty good. Let's make a copy, Command J. We'll take this one over to the other hand. What I'm going to do is zoom in. And I'm going to just drop opacity. I can see where her fingers are, and I'm going to add a mask. On the mask, let's get our brush. We've got a soft brush. Let's our colors back to default, hitting D on our keyboard, and we're painting in black. 25% is okay. And let's just bring fingers back into this picture. just so we can see roughly where they are. We can then bring the opacity all the way back up. And if we need to swap to white, hit X on our keyboard, making sure we're on the mask, and we can just paint the rock back into any little parts that we've missed. That's not too bad. Let's now move over to the other rock. Let's do the same and drop the opacity a little bit so we can see where the fingers are. Let's add that mask down here. Make sure we're painting in black. And we're on our brush, and let's just bring those fingers back in. And then let's bring the opacity back up again. Change to white, hitting X on our keyboard. Smaller brush, make sure we're on the mask. And then we can just paint that rock back in on the sides, and that's not too bad. So Command 0, got our rocks in place. So let's turn on our flame now. So this is a picture of our flame here. We're going to change that to screen. And while I'm here, I'm going to come up here to the blend ranges and just drop the source layer range down here. And that will take away any lines that we have around our flame. So let's grab our move tool. Let's bring our flame over to our rock. And let's just put it sort of about there, maybe a bit taller. Going to copy that flame with a Command J. And then up to arrange and flip horizontal and just move that. So I've got that about there. That looks pretty good. I'm going to highlight both of the flames holding my shift key down. Come up here to layer and merge selected. And then I'm going to copy that as well and move these flames over to this side. You can see the flames have lost a little bit of their color, but we're going to fix that in a second. So with all those, with the flame and the rocks, let's highlight all of those holding the shift key down. Command G, and let's just call those flames. So what I'm going to do now is on top of those flames, I'm going to come down here to my adjustments and add a gradient map. On my gradient map, this first color here, click on the color, and I'm going to change that to black. The last color here, click on that, and I'm going to change that to white. And then in the middle, I'm going to change that color to a nice red, nice and red. And then I'm going to insert another little nodule here by clicking insert. On that one, I'm going to change to yellow. And then we can just tweak those a little bit. Sort of not quite yellow. That looks a little bit better there. So that's a little bit more yellow. So let's click off that. What I'm going to do, again, just on top of those flames, we're going to come up here to layer, new fill layer. I'm going to change that to black, and I'm also going to add another pixel layer right in between the gradient and the fill. Now on those three layers, we're going to highlight them all. Command G, and we're going to change that to gradient. Gradient map, and that whole group there, we're going to change the blend mode to screen. Now I'm going to open this gradient map, and this group of the flames here, I'm just going to add them in. There we go, and you can see now that we have them a lot brighter and a lot more like flames. So with this gradient map now, you see I've added that pixel layer as well. I'm going to use that a little bit later, but if you take sort of like a pencil brush and just pick a pencil brush, it's going to give you this really nice glow effect. And the more you go over it, you can add the yellow. So you can have a smaller brush and you can add some really nice sort of glow effects to your picture if you want to. And I'm going to use that a little bit later, that pixel layer in that gradient. So let's just turn that off for now. But I've used it just to highlight these flames a little bit more. Okay, we're ready now to bring in our debris. So this is going to be, if I turn that on, you'll see it's all these bricks and glass. And I got the bricks, I've just copied the bricks from the picture here and this plank of wood here. And I've added them all into their own layer. You can see I've got lots of bricks and lots of glass in this picture. So what I'm going to do is just make this a lot bigger. And it's going to go behind our model. Make it quite big. Let's make this picture a little bit smaller so we can get that all that in place. Right behind our model. About there, looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do, because I've put a black background in here as well, I'm going to turn that black background off. And what I'm going to do with this front brick here is take it all the way out right up to the top. So this brick is front, right about there. And with some of the glass that I've got here, I'm going to make some more copies with a Command J, and I'm going to add some more glass all around the picture. Make some a bit bigger, some a bit smaller. Just copying some of this glass, some up here in the corner. More down here. And maybe another one down here in this corner here. Just so I got sort of lots of glass, lots of mayhem going around the place. Maybe that one up there and one more down here in the corner here. I've got lots of bits and pieces going everywhere. So I'm happy with that, with all that glass. So I can just close that up a little bit. Command 0 to make my picture a little bit bigger. Okay, we're going to add a little bit of fog. So let's turn on our fog layer. Going to bring this down behind my model. Going to stretch it out. Stretch it down as well. Going to add a Gaussian blur on my live filters down here and blur that quite a bit. Let's change the blend mode to screen. Let's drop the opacity down a little bit. I'm going to stretch that up. Let's make a copy, Command J. Put that one up the back here. To add a little bit of atmosphere, I'm going to make another copy, Command J. That one's going to be front of the model, quite small. Front of her feet there, just so we've got that atmosphere and that little bit of fog. Now we're going to add our model's shadow. We should have done this before, but that's okay. Command J on our model. On this bottom one, I don't need the highlights and the exposures, so I'll get rid of those. But I will add a layer effects and turn on color overlay. So now I've got this, just this copy of my model. I've got my move tool and I'm just going to turn that round, bring that all the way down here. Just add that shadow in. And on the shadow layer, we'll add a Gaussian blur and we'll just blur that shadow to about there. Looks pretty good. Always tweak it a little bit later. That's not too bad. So we've got our shadow in place. So that's all good. Okay, what we'll do now is work on our model a little bit. And remember the exposure that we inverted and called highlights. We're going to work on that layer. On our brush, bring our flow up to 25%. Painting in white. Our brush, we're going to change to a nice, soft, basic brush. Okay, let's zoom in. We're just going to add some highlights to our model here. Going around adding these highlights all the way down. And we've got some up there. If you want to lessen it, you can change over to black and just delete some of it if it's too much. Bit here on the side. Her arms. just go around and add the highlights. Okay, when you're happy with all your highlights, Command 0. What I'm going to do also is add a new pixel layer, flip that to my model. I'm going to change that to soft light on the blend mode. And then I'm going to change my color to orangey color. About there. Still 25% is okay. Let's zoom in again. And I'm going to add a little bit of color now to picture. Down where her arms are and her hair. Her face as well. I might drop the flow a little bit. 10. Let's just get some of that color in there. And a little bit of that color down. The side here and up her arms. Just remember I'm doing this fairly quickly and know that you'll take a lot more time. Okay, that's not looking too bad. Let's hit Command 0. That's maybe a little bit here. Okay, what I'm going to do, remember the gradient map? I'm just going to take that pixel layer there. Let's get our colors back to default, painting in white. Let's zoom in a little bit and just where the flames are coming up her arms here, maybe drop that opacity down as well, all the way down to about 10 as well. You might just add a little bit. And on this side as well. Okay, not too much, just adds a tiny little bit of color in there. Okay, let's bring in now our little picture of our little light flare here. Change the blend mode to screen. On our move tool, and let's just add some of these just as a little extra bit, just one there. Command J. Might add one to some of the glass. Command J, we'll add a few of these, maybe on that bit of glass here. It's not too bad. Okay, we've got those in place. Let's go Command minus. On my brick here right front, we need to add a little bit of color. So I'm going to add a new pixel layer, clip that, change that to soft light. Again, I want this sort of orangey color. And I'm just going to add on my brush. I know I've still got a soft brush. Change this flow to 25%. Let's make the brush quite big. And let's just add some color to that brick. Okay, I want to add a little bit of color to the rest of these bricks here. So just on the debris layer here, I'm going to add a pixel layer. Just going to clip that into that layer as well. Change the blend mode to soft light again. And I'm just going to grab my brush, nice soft brush, painting in this orange color. And I'm going to add some color to these bricks. Okay, I'm happy with that. Might darken the background down a little bit more, just a tiny bit more, about there. I think I'll copy the light rays with the Command J, then bring a copy up above my model. Change the opacity down to about 25%. Okay, we've got our embers to bring in, so I'm going to click on my embers, change the blend mode to screen, make those quite big. Let's make that picture a bit smaller so we can bring all those embers in place. Out there, looks pretty good. Command 0. Any on her face, we'll just grab the erase tool and just erase any of those embers where we don't want them. Okay, I'm going to make a copy, Command J, and bring a copy under my model as well. These top ones we can drop to 50%. Out there, look pretty good. Okay, on my model where we've got this pixel layer here, I'm going to grab my brush, zoom in just on the model's eyes here, make my brush smaller, just put a bit of color. Eyes, 0. That looks pretty good. I think we're just about there. So what we'll do now, we've got all our elements in play. Let's click on the top one. Let's go up to here, layers, merge visible. Do my usual trick with my tone mapping. On details, going to bring that down to 20 on the tone compression. Local contrast is going to come down to about 10. Bringing the exposure down. Bringing the vibrance up and a little bit of detail to around the 50% mark. Let's click on apply. And then right on top, what I'm going to do is just to sort of make it pop a little bit more. Remember the gradient map? I'm just going to copy that gradient map and then bring that up to the top. Just to make those flames pop a little bit more. Then I'll grab a curves adjustment. And let's just do our S curve, make that a little bit darker. Good. And I might just do the old lens filter as well. And bring that down a little bit. So there you go, everybody. That is my tutorial this week on the picture that I call the witch. I hope you have enjoyed the tutorial. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing to my channel. But until next time, I'm going to say to you, stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.